So in tonight's call, I want to cover a study that came out last week looking at the benefits of olive oil for multiple sclerosis specifically and autoimmunity in general. And I made a video, if you're a YouTube subscriber, I made a video on this last week where I stood in front of the whiteboard and covered just this study. What will make this current video different is I'm going to cover this study, but then branch out into benefits of olive oil for immune function, for cardiovascular health, etc. Because olive oil is a very powerful nutrient or food, I should say, full of polyphenols and anti-inflammatory, antioxidant compounds that we can leverage and that we all have in our kitchen and we're probably not using to its fullest capacity. So this latest study just reinforces, hey people, you know, if you thought about doing this with previous studies and didn't, or you did it and then fell off, you might want to bring olive oil back to your daily diet, because whether or not you have multiple sclerosis, it's beneficial. And if you have any autoimmune disease, the information from this study can be extrapolated to other autoimmunity. So whoever's not muted, please mute yourself.
Might be me.
It's you.
I'm sorry.
No worries. All right. So the title of the study in the Journal of Clinical Investigation is Oleic Acid Restores Suppressive Defects in Tissue-Resident FOXP3 Tregs from Patients with Multiple Sclerosis. Probably no one cares who's listening to this, but if there's a scientist or doctor listening, then they do care because they can type that in and pull this up. But this journal is cool because they do a graphical abstract, which is basically a picture representation of what the study's talking about. And what's really cool is that the researchers found that, well, let me back up. When you have autoimmune disease, one issue with autoimmune disease that the authors talk about and have previously shown in their other research is that people with autoimmune disease have functional deficits in their T regulatory cells. And T regulatory cells are the cells in our immune system that help balance the immune system, balance the immune orchestra, or balance the immune seesaw, depending on which metaphors you've heard me use before. So they are the tolerance promoting anti-inflammatory cells of our immune system. And remember, tolerance is your body's ability, your immune system's ability to discern you from not you and only shoot their guns at the not you part. If you lose self-tolerance and start shooting at you, that's autoimmune disease. So these authors and many others have shown that autoimmune patients have functional deficits in their T regulatory cells. So if you have less T regulatory cells, you have less of their suppressive function or less of their anti-inflammatory function, less tolerance, and increased risk of autoimmunity. Now, where this study builds on that is that they found that T regulatory cells get their energy and their metabolic rate or their metabolism from oxidation of fatty acids. Okay, so basically T regulatory cells work off of fat and they break down that fat via beta oxidation to produce oxidative phosphorylation, which means ATP, the process that they use, that they produce ATP from in their mitochondria, which we've covered in other videos when looking at B vitamins and supplements. So your T regulatory cells require free fatty acids to function optimally so that they have the energy that allows them to differentiate and function and therefore promote tolerance and be anti-inflammatory. Well, what this study shows is that beyond that is that healthy human fat tissue, in healthy human fat tissue, the most abundant free fatty acid is called oleic acid. And oleic acid is a primary component of olive oil. It is a long chain fatty acid that's found in large amounts in olive oil. So healthy people, their fat tissue is predominantly made up of the free fatty acid oleic acid. In patients with multiple sclerosis, what they found is their fat tissue was predominantly made up of arachidonic acid. And arachidonic acid is the parent omega-6 fatty acid, which is pro-inflammatory. So multiple sclerosis patients, instead of having an anti-inflammatory Treg promoting, tolerance promoting free fatty acid as their dominant acid in their fat tissue, they have arachidonic acid, which is pro-inflammatory, autoimmune promoting, and in this case, MS, relapsing remitting MS promoting fatty acid. So that's big time important, because if we can use olive oil to sway that ratio and swing those people back to a dominant oleic acid ratio, then we see the inhibition of the immune cells that drive MS further. So this study showed that giving MS patients oleic acid or giving MS patients Tregs oleic acid improves their anti-inflammatory capacity and allowed them to do the job better, which then promotes less MS flares. So we can take that and extrapolate it to likely mean that in other autoimmune patients where Tregs are just as important, if their free fatty acid ratio in their fat tissue is not oleic acid dominant, but is arachidonic acid dominant, then they could potentially benefit and get the same result in terms of improving Treg function, and that resulting in improvement in whichever named autoimmune disease they have. So boom, right on your shelf, you may have a nutrient that can improve your Treg function tonight, or start that way. So adding olive oil to your daily routine, as a condiment on your salad, or just shooting, a tablespoonful when you walk by and look at it, can be beneficial for you. So that's what we'll do. That's the extent we'll go there. If you want more, check out my video I made last week where I dive into this study specifically. Now, other ways olive oil can be beneficial. This study looked at the polyphenols in olive oil, which are, antioxidants. They improve lipoprotein particle ratios. So heart disease, cardiovascular risk. And what I want to show you is this is a study that looked at a bunch of studies. Oh, where'd it go? I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong study. But this is one of the studies that shows that it improves cardiovascular risk. Okay, let me find the other one. Here we go. Extra virgin olive oil and cardiovascular disease, benefits for human health. This study shows us that olive oil and a bunch of other studies decreases all kinds of factors to promote heart health and promote vascular health. And so this table shows, the studies, the dosing they used, how long the study went, how many subjects they used, and what the impact was of the olive oil. So depending on the study, the extra virgin olive oil decreased obesity, decreased fasting blood sugar. Okay, so it can be useful in blood sugar and insulin resistance. Extra virgin olive oil in this study decreased clotting factors, decreased inflammatory factors, increased antioxidants, and increased hydrogen peroxide. Well, in our video on COVID and using the nebulizer and hydrogen peroxide for antiviral defenses, this could snap into that video. Extra virgin olive oil in this study decreased free radicals, so decreased rusting and decreased inflammatory vascular factors. These people consumed 1 liter a week, okay, of extra virgin olive oil. So they did it through the Mediterranean diet and through olive oil itself. And look, big time reduction in all these inflammatory markers. So this study increased HDL. So if your cholesterol panel, if your HDL is low, extra virgin olive oil can help improve your HDL, or the quote unquote good cholesterol, while also reducing total cholesterol, LDL, triglycerides, and blood pressure. So maybe try that before a statin. And these people consumed 50 milliliters a day. As we go here, another one showing improved HDL, decreased total cholesterol, LDL, triglycerides. This one improved HDL and improved glucose markers, decreased inflammatory markers, decreased blood pressure, decreased body weight, body mass index, waist circumference. So body composition was impacted by olive oil in this study. Improved endothelial function score, which is vasculature, decreased blood pressure, decreased glucose, insulin, cholesterol, triglycerides. So, again, widely available, highly effective. Decreased C-peptide if you're diabetic or insulin resistant. So it's just if there's a cardiovascular marker or a metabolic marker related to heart health, it's probably been studied against extra virgin olive oil, and extra virgin olive oil appears to have won against it. Okay, so here's a picture showing that extra virgin olive oil inhibits the pro-inflammatory markers, and it induces vasoprotective effects. So a different way of saying what we just said. So blocking all kinds of inflammation, improving vascular numbers. So that's cardiovascular. And then from an anti-inflammatory aspect and immune system aspect, above and beyond what we talked about with autoimmunity and MS, this paper is showing all kinds of ways that it works from an inflammatory and immune standpoint. And so, again, they're looking at autoimmunity here, lupus, MS, rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, which would be Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, psoriasis. The polyphenols, the little lightning bolts, represent polyphenols from olive oil. So wherever you see a lightning bolt, that's where the olive oil is having an impact, okay? So everywhere, right? Your gut microbiome is beneficial in dysbiosis, okay? Because our bacteria, our good bugs, can metabolize the polyphenols and create beneficial results for us from those. Your fat tissue, like we talked about, it makes a big difference on inflammatory markers there. Your T cell differentiation, if you've seen me draw the seesaw for you, it can impact whether you go Th1 or Th2 or Th17, which promotes autoimmune disease the most, or Tregs, which we just talked about, or at your genetic level where you produce inflammation. It promotes antioxidants and inhibits pro-inflammatory genes. So again, a spoonful of sugar is not good. She was a liar. Don't listen to that song. But a spoonful of olive oil, yeah, makes the inflammation go down. That's going to hit the billboards. I'm going to produce it. You wait. Okay. And then here's studies looking at same thing in rheumatoid arthritis. Instead of cardiovascular outcomes, we're looking at joint pain intensity decreased. If we look at inflammatory bowel disease, improved mucosal immunity, improved mucosal barrier function, decreased inflammation. In multiple sclerosis, improved neuroprotective effects in BDNF and a bunch of brain markers. In lupus, decreased connective tissue damage, decreased immune overactivation. In psoriasis, there was an inverse association of disease severity and CRP levels with olive oil consumption. So basically, the more olive oil they consumed, the less the psoriasis severity and the less the inflammatory markers. So that does it for us for today. If you're not using olive oil, and remember, olive oil should be used as a condiment, not a cooking oil. So if you cook olive oil above medium heat, you're going to denature it and produce a trans fat, and now it's going to work against you. So it's more a low heat if you're going to cook with it at all, but I'd rather you just shoot it with a teaspoon or use it as a dressing alternative, mixing olive oil with, with vinegar and maybe some red pepper flakes or something like that. Or dump some in your smoothie, however you need to Trojan horse it in. So let's open it up for questions or comments.
Quick question on the cooking with it, because you know what, I made salmon last night and it said baste it in olive oil, but then it's baking at 375. So that's not good, right?
Yeah, that's too high. I
Okay.
wouldn't do that.
I'm just using avocado oil usually for that.
Yeah, or coconut oil if you don't mind a coconut taste to your fish.
Okay.
But yeah, it's essentially a condiment. If you're gonna cook with it, it'd be like low heat. You know, if you're cooking your eggs on low heat or something. But I look at it as a non-cooking oil.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Yeah, this would be probably really good for, like, I know obviously any autoimmune, but for fibromyalgia too, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, because again, the inflammatory markers are the inflammatory markers, right? So all the inflammatory markers that could possibly be driving pain and fatigue outcomes in fibromyalgia are the same culprits, or it's going to be a mix of some of the same culprits from the other ones. And so when you go through the studies, I mean, if we look here, so you see interleukin 6, TNF alpha, interleukin 1 beta. I mean, those are the three majors. So if we're inhibiting those, again, the person with fibromyalgia is going to be as effective there as the person, with MS. It's just that the tissue being attacked is the thing that's different. It's
Right.
The loss of tolerance is the same, right?
Okay.
The mechanism's the same, essentially.
That's great.
Dr. Bartemus, is grapeseed oil a good oil to use for cooking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. That's a higher heat tolerant.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I listened to this because we just thought we were doing a good thing last night. We had peppers and onions cooked in olive oil on the stove.
If you did it too high, then no. If you're less than medium, then you're probably okay. But who cooks on less than medium?
Right.
That takes too long. So yeah.
Did it say in the studies, I couldn't see, but did it say in the studies how long or how quickly they got to see results from taking like 50 ml? I had to look up how much 50 ml is, and it's 1.6907 ounces.
Yeah, let's see. They had the length of the various studies. I gotta find which one was the 50 ml.
Oh, I see it now.
Yeah, no worries. 50 ml. So here we go. 50 ml. Oh, here we go. So they did it for 3 to 5 years, parallel. And if they're doing the Mediterranean diet, then olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, is a huge part of the Mediterranean diet. So, 1 ounce is not that much. Actually, will you Google for me?
I'm doing 2 tablespoons.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That's what I'm doing right now because I'm taking 2 tablespoons with each meal. So it's 3 tablespoons.
Is 1 ounce?
3.3 tablespoons is 50 milliliters.
Okay, there you go. So 3 tablespoons a day would be your 50 milliliters, Karen.
Got it.
Or 1.7 ounces.
Right. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's not hard to do. I actually did this last year or 2019? I read some studies, and I did a tablespoon with every meal for the length of the bottle I had. It was a big bottle. And I loved doing it. And I could tell a difference for me in my GI. So, yeah. Just leave your little tablespoon measure out by the olive oil on your counter, and when you walk by, hit it.
That's all I do, and I cover it with a paper towel so dust doesn't settle in it.
Yeah. And how many tablespoons is in a liter, Jennifer?
It is.
That's going to be a lot.
That is a lot. A liter to tablespoons is 3,381.
Okay. Because these people were doing a liter a week in these
When
two
you
studies.
said that, I was like, that's a gigantic amount of olive oil.
That's where you need to dump it on salads and food and stuff, because otherwise.
For your smoothies.
Yeah.
Their blood is gold when
That's
they.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, and Karen, if you're interested in those cholesterol changes, so the 50 ml a week is where those were listed. But then if we shoot down a couple studies here, you're seeing it with 25 mLs a week in these people in a 3-week crossover. So, you know, they're doing, say, a tablespoon and a half a day for 3 weeks and seeing cholesterol change.
That's amazing.
So you don't necessarily need to do a 3 to 5 year
Study.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And here's another one, 25
Get out the
mLs a day,
t-shirt.
3
It's
weeks.
so simple, it's hard.
Yep. Yep. So 8 grams a day, that's easy to do. Body weight, cholesterol, blood pressure. So, you know, let's just do the 3 tablespoons. That's not hard to do. And that will give us potentially, you know, theoretically 2 times the benefit that all of these studies got, or equal the benefit of the 50 ml study.
Amazing. Amazing.
And delicious. That's the good thing.
Yeah.
What else?
I'm glad you put me on it from the beginning.
Yeah. It's been effective with everyone I use it with. So might as well share with everybody.